full board here today. So at this time, I'd like to begin with a moment of silence. We give thanks for this day and for all who have come to work for our schools. We're grateful for everyone who contributes now and the people that have contributed in the past for our children. Help us to be leaders and allow us to choose and to lead wisely. We're so thankful where we live and the resources that we have. We are so fortunate to be in our community and have the freedoms to make the choices that we want. We ask for your healing for the sick and for providing for those in need. Enter our hearts, give us encouragement to be givers and to be joyful. Lastly, let's pray for the safety and peace in our schools and the county and hope that we're able to contribute in a positive way. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Ms. Helms, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we do have a presentation to get started from the Coffee Teacher Advisory Council, Mr. Terry Harnden. Mr. Harnden, come to the front, and you will have, if you could say your name for the microphone, and and do talk into the microphone during this presentation so that it's picked up for everyone to hear. And we welcome you here today, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
All right. Test 1, 2. You know, I don't know if that's a good idea. There we go. Is that loud enough? Do I have to get a little louder?
I think it's okay.
All right. Okay. I'm Terry Harnden, and yes, I am a personal finance teacher here at Coffee County Central High School. I'd like to start the presentation in this manner. We do have a visual presentation to share with you. And so, if you will, let me get started with this. And I want to start it in this direction. I look around this room for just a moment, as you do and I do. I see how many are here on the board in front of me, and also you said 2 are online observing what's going on. And we look in the room here, and there's several people here. And I always start out in class with the idea is let's not presume everybody knows everything. And so with that, that's why you see the first slide with the concept about the school board. And so as you look at that for just a moment, the idea that is presented here in general, what in the world your role is. And so as we look at that, we see all school boards have 3 major responsibilities. Developing the annual budget as to run the school system, to setting school policies, and also the hiring and evaluating the director of schools. I want you to know up front that I'm one and represent many that hold you highly in regard for all these 3 areas. You have a tremendous responsibility that as you have decided that you would enter into this realm, being on the school board, and looking at these particular 3 areas and saying, I'm going to give my all because this community definitely needs an educational system that is viable and resilient and to help our children grow year after year after year. And implementation of that requires definitely working on a budget that will allow funds to be forth. Also the policies that will help every school and student and staff, wherever they may be, for instance, to be safe and have the facilities and the materials that they need. That's a lot of work to sit down as a board and try to decide about the budget and setting of school policies. But also we recognize the importance that you have taken as a venture, saying you need somebody that also works with you and also as an individual that you look within that can not only work with you, but the concept of bringing on board things that will help the first two avenues that I have already mentioned. And so that, of course, would be a director of schools. And so with that in mind, I present that concept to help those that might not really understand the importance of what your role is and how the magnitude of what it is. And for all of us, I think we should say unto you, thank you very much for your willingness to be who you are and implement it into the area that you have decided to go in. You're part of this community. And with that in mind, definitely the community is in your heart. It's the community of what you want progressed, not just this year, but every year and the generations to come. And that's a wonderful aspect to have. We see we too are that. But also within that, I have one other area that says that goes along hand in hand. And who I am, what I'm representing is the Coffee County Teacher Advisory Council. Now, we find in 2022, on September the 12th, we find a team made up of teachers and administration to come up and compile a group of teachers that would work primarily with the board through, as you note the latter part of this, the director of schools. We find ourselves meeting time and time again with the idea is the things that we as teachers that are concerned about those three areas in which we've already noted this morning or this afternoon. The budget, of course, affects us as staff across the board, all the employees. And so we recognize the importance of that, and we share the concerns to the director of schools about our concerns about the budget, about supplies, about buildings, about the various things that we see firsthand that we need, because that's some of the things that he asks of us. And so part of that is dealing with the budget. The other is definitely policies that, again, reflects upon us as not just teachers. And I bring this about because this was the mainstay of whom I represent in this group. All right, but the idea is that, we look here and understand the policies that are necessary and needful for staff across the board to be able to be the best in whom we can be, and to be able to lift our hands one with another in concerning that particular thing. The go-between person that helps us with that is the director of schools. He sits down with us and he listens to our concerns and ideas, and it's amazing that he can sit and begin to give us input. If it's dealing with policy, whether state or whether it's federal, I, for one, am amazed that he can tell you the statutes of this is why we do such and such, and this is why we have not done such and such or cannot do such and such. And if there's something there that we ask of him concerning the school system as a whole, because that's exactly what this council represents, every school in the district, he says, let me see if we can implement that. And he goes and researches and he talks to you all about that and comes back with an answer for us. And so what I'm saying that as we look at all of this, we're somewhat a part of that extension that we have with the board because of not only being staff members across the board, but because we also represent the community here too. You see, we're part of this community just like you are. We're fathers and mothers, we're brothers and sisters, and we're aunts, and we're uncles, and we're grandmas, and we're grandpas, and we have children and grandchildren and so forth that are in all the facilities that the schools represent. And so the budget is important to us. We wear two hats. Number one, again, being part of the community. So the budget is important to us as far as that part being enrolled there. And also with the policies. And also trying to find a man or woman, a director of schools, that has the knowledge and the wisdom and a lot of other things that you're going to see in just a little bit as we go through this presentation that will help the school as a complete part, but also the community as a whole in which we represent, but also as a staff member staff members in this educational system, which every one of us loves so dearly. We are here because of that, just like you are. And so we're all on the same team. There is no opposition here. What we find is the things that we try to support and the ways we do is implementing and supporting the things in which you also see. And so with that in mind, we said unto ourselves at the latter part of this, the reason why we're up here today, or I am in representation, not only of CTAC, but once we decided that since down here at the bottom line, if you will, I'd like to read it, the CTAC has teacher representatives from each school and is intended to open a regular line of communication between the director of schools and the teachers in the school. Well, since he is the direct line of communication with us, and he also is a direct line of communication with all of you, we deemed it necessary and definitely important for us to be able to say today, we want to come before you, not just teachers alone, but in fact, that was the beginning. In the beginning, we were individuals that were going to say, as this advisory council, we wanted to talk to you and share with you our thoughts concerning the implementation continually of this director of schools because of many things, in which you'll see here in just a moment. So we designed a survey, and that survey was to reflect certain things. So let me go a few, if I will. Evaluating the director of schools. The best way that we thought that we could do that overall as staff members, and eventually we found that as we had sit down and had compiled this data, just like you do, when you're dealing with the budget, you look at data. And you find the director of schools working with you to find data and to compile data and to come up with some type of reasoning or understanding and a result based on the data that you have acquired. And if there's any changes that are going to be made over the year, again, things that are brought to your attention is based upon those numbers that are presented a lot of times by those in the community, by us that are staff members, but also by the director of schools. And at the same time, with that in mind, just like the policies the same way. He is definitely a go-between between you all and all of us within this society called Coffee County. When it was brought to our attention by others that we were going to draw this survey out to do one thing, to evaluate the director of schools, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're finding data somewhere, some along the line, with community efforts, people whom you talk to on the phone or by email or at the coffee shop, because each one of you represents part of the districts that makes up Coffee County. And because of that, we also realize once again that everybody in the staff representative here, also not in this room, but across the board of all the schools and maintenance department, and we could go through all the departments, they also are part of this community in your district. And sometimes they don't get an opportunity to really say to you what needs to be said or what they would like to say. And so word got to them that we were going to have this survey that the advisory council was going to implement to teachers to get feedback about evaluating the director of schools. Because we wanted to know basically the three areas in which you are also looking at how that influenced us by him intervening with us. Once again, that being said, others throughout the staff district, again, whether it's outside of the teacher realm, said, we think it would be more viable and also, more conclusive if all of us would have an opportunity to be able to answer this survey. So we sent it out to everybody for proper representation that we believe was correct, based on two things, them being part of the community, and secondly, because they are definitely a part of the school system in which all of us collectively support by the things we do. That's why those two slides were brought forth for all of us to understand, I believe, where we are. We're not apart, we're together. And so as we work on the budget concept together, as we work upon the concepts about the policies in which is going to help all of us collectively, we wanted to share with you that we thought that the data necessary toward us would implement and say, hey, look for a moment what we believe is the criteria for really an honest evaluation of the director of schools. Outside of what we would like to have had and didn't have, it's not because we sit across the coffee shop table with him or we know him at church. None of that. It comes down to the fact as him being an individual or her being a person that will say, how am I doing working with you in these three particular areas? And so the validity of this, of the survey, the validity of what we're talking about is why the survey. And what we're talking about with the concept of validity refers to the degree to which a study accurately reflects or assesses the specific concept that the researcher is attempting to measure. Now, that's the advisory council, but it turned out to be all staff throughout the educational system here in Coffee County, because this survey was sent out to anybody within that realm. So here we go. Well, what is the measurement of this survey was supposed to do? The measurement of the performance of the director of schools within the criteria, these three things: budget and how he's working with it, upholding it, and helping it make it better. Number two, helping the school board and the school system overall to have definitely policies that will benefit each and everybody in the community as well as those employed within the school system. 2. 3, we wanted to measure how well he's doing, his performance, the evaluation of the director of schools himself, based on 1 and 2. Now, that's our goal. That's the validity of the survey. And so hopefully we were able to get you a copy of that survey that was finally completed and was having all the data compared and data put together and saying, this data is just like the data that you use for your budget and trying to figure out what fits and what needs to be changed and all of that. The same data you get together when you look at policies and what policies are important, and is it state changes, federal changes, county changes? What is it that the policies need to be done, changed, and implemented that everybody will be exactly on the same page? That exactly was what this survey is all about. This survey within itself is to measure the director of schools in that capacity. And so why did we choose these survey questions? Once again, these areas of interest are areas which are performance-based. Just as he works with you on the budget, just as he works within the community about the concerns of the budget, just as he continues to help you look at what changes or new implementations of policies across the board, the third area also is just as important. So once again, we're looking, they are the three major areas where the director of school duties and responsibilities to the school board and responsibilities definitely intersect. And they intersect with us. And so that's why the survey has validity. And this is why we chose 10 questions that supports these three concepts. Nothing more and nothing less. And so from this point, I would like to get in. Hopefully you did acquire a hard copy of the survey. I have 2 extras up here if anyone needs one. May I ask a show of hands, how many of you did get a copy of the survey, please? All right. Did you have an opportunity to look at the survey? Thank you very much. All right. So let's begin with the survey itself. The director's survey feedback. These are the things in which we're going to show you the questions or the statements or the areas and the results. There was a total responses of 120. All right. This, of course, was dated February the 9th. Complete responses was 120 as it was sent out. Those that had the opportunity to either participate or not participate, that's how we operate. And so we had 120 that decided to respond. And so the beginning of this is what we're looking at here. I want to say before we start with this first standard or question 1, I filled out this survey. And I will say to you, it took me a while to fill this out. And the reason why it took me so long to fill this out, 10 questions or statements or areas, if you will. I realized that this survey, based on what it's asking, reflects even me. And it reflects even you. If you would look at each one of these standards, leadership and district culture, and you're looking here, unacceptable, needs improvement, good, excellent, or outstanding, or doesn't apply, where do you fit? Where do you fit in this? And so, as a community and as we link together in this system we call education, every one of us sitting here, and as we would look at this for a moment and we say, wow, how do I rate my own leadership? How do I rate what I see in the culture of this district and how I find myself working within it? Am I outstanding? Am I excellent? Am I good? Do I need improvement? I want you to keep that thought in mind as we look at each one of these, because again, this is just not really, I felt like when I was doing this survey in evaluating the director of schools, I found myself evaluating me. Evaluating me. And I hope that each one of you, as you looked at each one of these, recognized you're there too. Because we all have the same goal. All right. We see the chart here. And so we're looking at this and we see the outcome, if you will. Answers to leadership and district culture. As you're looking at this, I want you to understand and think about one thing. To the board, to those in this room, to those that are in the other room, this survey was not to see if the director of schools equaled 100%. Because there's nobody in this room ever in any of these questions or areas of evaluation could equal 100%. Not one of us. Very few of us could even get to the excellent part. And so that's why I said, as we look at this, it's an overall compilation of saying, how's he helping us? How is it that he puts what he puts in? And in these areas, what we see, and that takes away from really of what we want. But we see performance in action. So you see here, the leadership and district culture. We go down, unacceptable, all right. Need improvement, 2.50, good, 11.67. 14 out of 120. 41, excellent. 62 says outstanding, 51.67. That's what you find from 120 people that decided to say, I'm going to let you know based on performance of what I've seen and how I have had interaction with this individual. And there you are. So that equals 120. Here are the comments, and I wish we could have had it larger for you. And these are comments that deal with this particular section from those of 120 that decided, not only do I want to select whether good or excellent or outstanding, but I believe it's time also that I want to say to you why I have chosen or selected the selection that I have. And ladies and gentlemen, if you could look at this, and I'll try to read just a couple. If not, we're going to be here till tomorrow. And I've got a young daughter that's come all the way from Knoxville that I've got to go see tonight. But I told her, sweetheart, I know your birthday, but I'm going to have to put you on hold because I've got another family here. Another family is just as important to be with today. I'll see you later tonight. Now look at this. Dr. Lawson is always present at events at my school. He's even come in, brought supplies, worked with my teaching partner to create a lesson for the students. He is constantly involved in sharing the vision, the rigor, and the expectations with parents, students, and staff for the overall betterment of individuals and community as a whole. He makes his presence known in schools as he communicates with administration, staff, and students. He even takes the helm of a substitute teacher when there's not enough substitutes. I've not seen other superintendents that we have had over the years that has stepped into the realm of being a teacher when there was not enough teachers to go around. That's a man that definitely says, I may have this title, but that title doesn't mean anything. What it means is that I'm an individual that is completely committed to every student, every staff member, wherever they may be, and committed to the board of Coffee County. You have a copy of these before you. Supports and informs system, internet, all stakeholders, create an excellent culture for Coffee County. Goes to many community events, that's been there. We could go on down and look at more of those, but I think there's enough there that you can read them for yourself, and those that have heard me this afternoon understand what we're talking about. So we have looked, therefore, of number one. Number two, standard number two, policy and governance. Once again, we see here, needs improvement, good, excellent, outstanding, in A. The results of policy and governance. What you're seeing, unacceptable, 0. Needs improvement, 1.67. Only 2 responded that way. 18 said good, 40 said excellent, 59 said outstanding, 1 said I'll pass, equals 120. This tells me definitely, as an individual working in this Coffee County system of education, and coupled with you, and also should say unto you, he definitely knows policy and governance. And once again, I, sitting at an advisory table with him and other teachers from the district, have sit down and ask him things and listen to him in the theater as he addresses all of the administration in schools about policies. He's definitely well informed and says it in such a way to all of us that we can walk away with an understanding. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with what he says, but that wasn't the point. We understand that definitely as the policies that are set, a lot of things his hands are tied. But at least he begins to explain them that we can walk away and do our jobs and feel better as somebody in the community that all things are as good as they can be at this present time. Now, let's look at what the comments were. Just a few, if you would, please. He participates in the development of all school policies with, note, the board, and sees to it that everyone involved in the school system knows such policies. He is very well versed in government laws and all policies and shares such information as needed. In meetings that I've had with him, He advises based on such laws, not opinions. If he doesn't know what the answer is, he'll say, I'll get back with you. He's not going to tell you, I think this or I think that. I'm going to let you know. Let me get back with you. And eventually, he does. All right? I feel informed of all system policies and intent with these policies. Dr. Lawson has been professional in all settings, including board member meetings, where board members haven't shown the same professionalism. He provides statements in public or to the public when they are warranted and defers to legal counsel when needed. He always includes a legal update during principal meetings, and our district is better because he is at the helm. Articulates could use some work, as you see 2.1. All right, the board has to be willing to work with him and stop harboring personal feelings. Now, once again, you realize, as I do, the perception that some have. I, for one, don't really believe in the negative part of that perception. Now, let me be honest and clear. Then maybe because we only had 120 that decided to do the survey, it could be because many said it wouldn't make any difference. There were some, and I was told that over and over. The second thing I was informed about was there might be retaliation, and I can't afford it. And my response to each of those, and every time I heard things like that, is that's not going to happen. At least I don't believe it to be so. Because we are all together unified with the understanding that we're all going to do our very best to make sure that our educational system for every family and everybody in this community is the best that it possibly can. And it can only work if we're unified together because of that. That doesn't mean we have sometimes hurt feelings. I can't go home and talk to my wife once in a while without hurt feelings. It comes up, and neither can anybody here. Well, while we're going to look in there, you could go on, I feel Dr. Lawson is knowledgeable in this area and willing to work with the board and other individuals when they are willing to work with him. And you have others that you can read. That is dealing with that particular standard in which we looked upon. Because you need him in that capacity. We need him in that capacity. And according to the survey, we recognize that need and that he does very, very well. Standard 3, communications and community relations. Again, the categories: unacceptable, needs improvement, good, excellent, outstanding, doesn't apply. Looks like excellent and outstanding is pretty close together. What are we talking about? All right, there it is. 3.33, 4 said needs improvement. 17.50, 21 says good. 46 said excellent. 48 said outstanding, NA. They said we'll just leave it as it is. Now, as we look at 3, do you realize one thing is still notable here? If not, let me share it with you. This individual is not perfect, but this individual looks like, according to his peers, is giving his all. And we see the results of it. Now, here's some of the comments that were brought forth, if you would please. I'll try to read the best I can. He uses various means of communication to update all parties in the school district and community. Examples: public meetings, newspaper, email, phone, personal and individual meetings. He has accepted lunch invitations by teachers, personally makes time to talk with students and staff without having to be assigned a time to do so as he visits the school. He observes and asks questions that pertain to the betterment of all. Other superintendents we have had over the years have only met with the administration. They're either meeting with the board or they're meeting with principals, assistant principals. Very rarely you would see one enter into a classroom and ask how things are going and what are you teaching, and ask the students something that they may have already acquired from the lesson of the day. But we have one that does. Fully committed, fully involved. Is very visible at the high school during and after school. He has no problem talking and explaining policies and his vision to the school or for the school and system. His communication has created a culture of educators and support staff that feel involved and in growth of the system. And we feel truly a part of that system. And we are growing in a positive way. And you see the results continually by the data that you all see, whether it's school, by scores of testing of students or other examples of data. Once again, data-driven. This survey is data-driven. But more so, I reflect more that the need of the comments to explain the data that is being presented to all of us. Dr. Lawson communicates well with the educators and is very supportive of us as professionals. Right? As a staff member, I feel like Dr. Lawson is always trying to keep us all informed. I think there is some room for improvement on helping community to understand some of the limitations on the district due to state and federal laws by media. However, the social media being such a cesspool for opinions, I understand the difficulty in finding that balance for anyone. Overall, we see communication is definitely his priority. And we reap the benefits from it. We have, and we believe we continually will. Standard 4, organizational management. Unacceptable, needs improvement. Good, excellent, outstanding, same categories of choice. But once again, we're looking at an area about his professional, personal performance in this area. Organizational management. Needs improvement. 2 out of the 120. 14 said good. Pardon me a moment. 36 excellent. 68 outstanding. Total 120 of those that participated in the survey. We're talking about organizational management. He did. Okay, start at the top. He's the only one to dive into the pay scales, and there are building improvements every year, or each year. He did an amazing job during COVID. No one knew what to do. His efforts were to protect students, teachers, and that was very appreciative. Dr. Lawson has worked hard to create a budget that I feel worked well for me as a teacher. Now, whether it's dealing with budget situations such as what can and cannot be done, how to get it done, and where the funds should be allocated to benefit the whole school system, not just one program, has been seen time and time again. Example, he helped to restructure salary scale for teachers for the benefit of teachers without changing the budget plan. He is constantly monitoring the safety of the school district and implementing safety procedures for the benefit of all. A little bit lengthy, I know. But these are the thoughts in which why these people selected the choice they selected. Dr. Lawson has supervised the creation, procedure, and practices for dealing with emergencies, threats, student violence, and trauma. He is often found on the front lines in such situations to offer his assistance. You have the rest of those before you. Standard 5, curriculum planning development. This goes along with that second category, doesn't it? Policies. How about our curriculum? Again, you all look at that data. And based on the data that's received by the implementation of such planning and testing at the helm of the director of schools, either through state or federal, or even sitting down and locally setting up things in which we can get some type of data concerning how well we're doing. Not just the students, but even the instructors. We find that there is a curriculum planning. We have PLCs that we do, some weekly, some weekly, some every 2 weeks. It's not just to kill time, but it's for us to sit down and see week to week or every 2 weeks where we are, how we're progressing through what the students tell us by what we find through the curriculum and the exams and standards that we've set, and see how they measure up with those. In doing that, it tells us how we measure. That's exactly what this curriculum planning development is all about. Out of 120, unacceptable was 0. 3 said needs improvement. 19 said good. 48 said excellent. 46 said outstanding. Again, total of 120. Every one of us know if we had, and we are asked, not only through the PLC meetings that we have, but also when we meet in theaters and wherever else, and the director of schools are there, we talk about the curriculum. And we talk about the positives and the negatives about the curriculum. You know as well as I, possibly, for example, they'll say curriculum part that was used for math and it wasn't working well. They didn't say, well, we'll just accept that and use it anyway. We got to figure out what we can do to make it better or make a change. That's the idea about somebody's performance in curriculum planning and development. We need a person like that is concerned that much, not just to hear, but to act. In the comments section, we have the equipment provided to do the tasks necessary in the curriculum. Curriculum meets state standards and business standards within the community. Faculty is involved in curriculum design and changes to benefit each program of study within the school system and every school in the district. Dr. Lawson has delegated these tasks to the directors of the curriculum and instruction as well as curriculum coaches that help ensure that the state standards are being taught to the rigor expected by the state. And I personally underscore that idea about rigor. Coffee County definitely has a program that is rigorous. Can it be more? Of course. Will it be more? Probably. Maybe I should have said possibly. Probably if we allow the director of schools that we have to continue to make sure the curriculum and the direction in which it's going and the implementation is still here. Dr. Lawson is receptive to input from teachers on the subject of content and curriculum. He will do that in his power while also meeting the rigors required by the State Department of Education. Friends, I don't think we can ask for anybody to do any better than that. That's just my thought. But I think not just my thought, but I believe the results of this by 120 people that said, here's what we believe based on this statement or section tells it what it is. Standard 6, instructional leadership. Once again, unacceptable, needs improvement, good, excellent, outstanding. Let's look at the results. 1, unacceptable, instructional leadership category. 1, unacceptable. 1 needs improvement. 20, good. 41, excellent. 54, outstanding. 3, NA, decide to abstain. Total 120. Again, I repeat all of these. All of us in this room can see this. I'm not sure because I'm not in another room and I'm not home somewhere, as it may be coming in through the internet, if you just see me or if you're able to see what I'm reading. That's the reason why I'm covering each one and reading. That way, as you're a listener, you can see and understand the results a lot better because they're given to you, just like it's given to us in this room. Comments here. The superintendent implements methods like PLCs, group meetings among administration and staff to check on progress of students through the methods used by staff. Dr. Lawson understands that each school is unique and that the needs of each, therefore, are unique. He communicates with the administrative team in those schools and accepts their feedback. They best know the needs of their areas and those populations as they are boots on the ground every day. He is open to discussion from educators and will communicate the reasoning behind his decisions after thorough research. Human resources management. Same choices. How it turned out. Unacceptable, 0. Needs improvement, 1. Good, 18. Excellent, 41. Outstanding, 58. 2, NA. Total responses, 120. So out of that 120, you see the results. Human resources management. Whoa. Need to go back. I don't use Chromebook, so I'm having... I'm going to ask Mindy to come up here and move it back. Please. If I push the wrong button, we're done. I teach personal finance. I do not deal with technology much. Oh, there it is at the bottom. All right, I don't want 8. We should be, I think it's one more back, isn't it?
No, you're on 8.
Am I on 8? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we're on 8. There's 7. There we go. Now, wait a minute. Why am I going backwards? I'm pushing the left bottom. I told him, I said, I want my mouse. There we go. Thank you. Values and ethics of leadership. Everybody up to this point, once again, I want to say to you, as I looked at standard 1 through 7, I was really evaluating me. When I got to this standard, I shook. I trembled within. When you're looking at this standard, values and ethics of leadership, let's look at the results. You see it in picture form. If somebody was evaluating me concerning my values and my ethics within the realm of leadership, I wouldn't know what to do. But truly we are. Everybody on the board, everybody in this room, everybody in every section of the school system is evaluated by this standard right here, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. Unacceptable, 0. Needs improvement, 0. Good, 19. Excellent, 37. Outstanding, 63. 1 abstained equals 120. They were all tough. I acknowledge that for me. But this one probably was the toughest. How do you measure such a thing? How do we even measure ourselves? But here we are. And so, being who we are and what we are, this is how we applied this concept about values and ethics that we have seen by the performance of our director of schools that represents Coffee County in this board. Our superintendent's values, including morals and ethical leadership, is one to emulate. There has only been one perfect individual that has ever lived, yet this individual exhibits such things as equality, fairness, sensitivity to all in every situation as one can. Can they say that about you? About me? But somebody did about him. Dr. Lawson is open to new ways to find common ground in dealing with difficult and divisive issues. Soon after Dr. Lawson was hired, there was a contentious situation happening in my classroom that was impeding my teaching and the students' learning. Dr. Lawson came out to my classroom for my specific situation and worked with the building level administration to come up with a plan for all students and stakeholders involved, so everybody would have a productive outcome of their situation. The last one, Dr. Lawson's reputation is excellent. He goes out of his way to include every school, student, parent, staff member. I have never seen a director who supports and attends so many diverse types of events. He supports everything from art to athletics. And I will include in that I see equally. Equally. I'm amazed that I can go in different towns, and when they ask me, how's things going in Coffee County? I said, well, you talking about schools? Well, yes. What do you think about your director of schools? I said, Dr. Lawson? And before I can say anything, he said, well, we want you to know that we know people that have been involved with Dr. Lawson, not in Coffee County, but as he branches out in other parts of the community, whether it be Tullahoma, Winchester, Warren County, they all speak highly of him. Now, you can't ask for any better testament, a representation for all of us in this room than what you hear from the community. Standard 9, employee relations. Again, unacceptable, needs improvement, good, excellent, outstanding, NA. All right, let's check this result, please. 0 unacceptable. 2 needs improvement. 14 good. 37 excellent. 62 outstanding. 5 held off. Can you think for just a moment? This is employee relations. This is not teachers only. This is everybody that is staffed in the educational system of Coffee County. And yet 120 that have decided to come forth with their answers about this survey is saying to us, the results are here. Employee relationships definitely is a part of his performance. And he knows that. And he implements those relations with all that he possibly can in the time factor that's allotted to him. All right. Overall, he strives to do all he can for the well-being of the entire staff and employees. This has been noted by the salary platform change for teachers without affecting the budget. That's one of those criteria. Raising taxes, etc. And let staff know what processes are being used for salary increases within the bargaining laws. Continues to be visible and involved with the staff. Is a very approachable leader. Dr. Lawson consistently works to create productive relations with bargaining groups while managing contracts efficiently or effectively. He works well with the CTAC committee. He is open to discussions and conversation. He addresses every concern and question and thoroughly investigates any that he feels need further scrutiny. His response is always timely and detailed as to his decision. He has worked to bring Coffee County to the forefront and makes us more marketable and competitive in the area. See if I can back it up. There are 33 open responses, answers included in the presentation. You know, each board member also has a written copy provided in your packet. Question 10 was open responses. In other words, out of that 120 that decided to do this survey, they're saying now is your opportunity to get off of those 9 areas and express, including those 9 areas, things that you couldn't say by clicking excellent, outstanding, or needs improvement. But once again, I stand before you saying this to you. You, plural, meaning the board, everybody in this room, everybody that's watching on screen. How would you fare on this survey? Do you see room for improvement? Do you realize that you're not 100% either? But what makes this Coffee County unit what it is because we all don't rely on our weaknesses. We get support from each and everybody else that is strong in those areas. And they raise our hands up. They see us cry. They see us holler. Sometimes we say things that they can't believe that's coming out, and we don't even know we're saying it ourselves. But at that point in time, all they know is, let me raise your hand. Let me come to your aid like Miss Ackland did on this computer a while ago. Right? That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's all about. And we have an individual that you have elected or chosen to be a director of schools that has implemented those 9 traits the best that I believe that anybody could that we have ever seen. And I've been here, and there's been a lot of director of schools. If we're looking at data and examples of performance, it is before you. Question 10 with open responses. I'm just going to read a couple because I know time has gone on. It says, overall, he strives to do all he can for the well-being of the staff's entire staff employees. I think that one's been written. All right. Continues to be visible and involved with the staff. Is a very approachable leader. I think that's been hit. Let me move on. You all do have a copy of this. It's going backwards. That's why. Hey, you know what? I have need for improvement. I don't use Chromebooks, and that's my excuse. I don't have my mouse that I live with. That's my excuse. Yeah, so there we are. Let me push this little button. There we go. Any other comments you'd like to share? Everybody in that, given the survey, had that opportunity. One, he's been very good for Coffee County. Excellent leader. Number 2, I feel that I can't answer all of the questions well, but I did my best. I was disappointed by the board's treatment of Dr. Lawson at the last minute where his contract was discussed. I believe Dr. Lawson's contract should be extended. He has made mistakes, and I haven't agreed with 100% of his decisions. But I think he cares for the interest of all stakeholders. He consciously thinks through his decisions, and I believe he strives to improve Coffee County schools. He has had successes that shouldn't be overlooked, nor should the board take credit for them all. I believe the board should consider 2 simple things of what a no vote means to teachers. You can be let go for doing a good job if you upset the wrong person or hold your ground for what you believe is best. Working together despite differences should be the decision tonight. It is my prayer that they will be peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Board, please listen to all stakeholders. If you heard from a parent or teacher about a decision he made, I hope you asked him for his perspective. Our culture thrives in negativity, tearing one another down, finding splinters in others' eyes. Please don't be like the culture. Take the higher road. I'm just going to read number 3 because I think you have several that you could look at, and I'm sure that since you already had this before you, that you have read those comments. I just want to share a couple with those that are in this room as well as those that are online. Dr. Lawson does a great job of getting into our schools. He has always been approachable, respectful towards faculty and students. He attends many school functions, extracurricular events, back to school, fall festivals, sport, etc., and general walkthrough visits. A few years back, when I was struggling with some school-related issues, Dr. Lawson made time out of his busy schedule to sit down with me in his office and have a lengthy discussion. Through his tenure here at Coffee County Schools, I've had nothing but positive interaction with Dr. Lawson, and I feel that our school district is headed in the right direction under his leadership. So I'm just going to close not with a long summation. The only thing I'm saying is that we're all together in what we're doing. We are all linked together in this system called education. And we all want the same thing. And we strive as being part of the community to help inform about the budget, about policies, and also, we should also be a part of that in letting you know about actual performance through budget, through policies, and through the experiences that people have firsthand pretty much every day from the director of schools. I believe you've seen tonight by the survey that you couldn't ask for any better, except for one thing. Raise his hands. He has weaknesses like you and I. Let him hold your hands as he holds ours. Raise his hands as he raises ours. And you're going to see us moving forward in the journey and the task that we have at hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harndren. Did we have any, does the board like to ask any questions?
Sure.
Mr. Ballard, you can go first then.
All right. You go back to your beginning point of data validity, and one of the ways to look at data like this is, how is the data distributed here? And normally on a survey like this, it would fall within a standard normal distribution. You're going to shift the median one way or back, but looking at this data, we have everything shifted so far to the right that I have to say that I am completely incredulous here. I mean, I have never seen data on a survey look like that. So I
appreciate it. Is this thing still on? I appreciate your comments. The whole concept about this survey is under one umbrella called performance. And it was offered to anybody in the staffing of Coffee County, whether it's grade school, high school, whether it's maintenance, because his performance that we see, meaning we, not just as teachers, but not performance in all of those 9 sectors is exactly what it is. A director of schools has to perform. And these are the areas that performance is definitely necessary and needful in any educational system. These sectors were not chosen to be on a right side. They are specifically chosen that deals with performance and performance only, that complement or fall within the realm of the board's responsibilities of budget, policy, right, and finding an individual that will also help make those things strong. Every one of those points or standards shows that. But thank you for your comment.
That does not answer the question, though. How do you account for the fact that every one of the answers is a statistical anomaly?
How would you suggest it be done?
Well, you could start off with surveying everybody, but
We
I
did.
have to question the data because
We did.
it doesn't
As I
skew
just
that far
stated,
away. Yeah.
this survey was sent out to everybody in the school district across the board. And it didn't matter whether you were maintenance, cafeteria, everybody that is an employee within the school system had the opportunity to partake of this survey. If you chose not to, that was your right. If you chose to do so, this was the options for you to consider. And in those options, you had the opportunity to say, this is what I believe, either excellent, outstanding, good, not so good. Everybody had the same right, the same opportunity. That's what the validity of this survey was all about. It did not exclude anybody that dealt with the educational system at this present time.
No, my point remains, I deal with a lot of data, and I have never seen anything like this, as far as.
Thank you.
But there was no information, no responses left out. Is that correct?
Yes,
Or
sir.
not? Correct. So every bit of information you got was reported to us,
Right.
and there was not anything called out, or there was
No,
no
sir.
discrepancies on negative or positive responses.
You know, as I hopefully opened up my conversation with you all tonight. And I said, one thing that we are, should be unified in understanding is, one of those up there that I said really hit me hard, harder than most, was our character, I'll put it that word, our value system. Now, you know as well as I do that they're, where are we at? Am I going to answer truthfully? Hopefully that's the individual that's sitting there having to look at themselves. And as they look at the director of school, or whether the survey would have been about each one of you individually, when we would consider those things, that's powerful. But if we were going to be right within the survey, we already knew that our integrity should match the integrity of this board, and that we're going to make sure that everything on the survey and the results thereof would be presented to uphold the integrity of all of us. If we're not worth that, we need to lock the doors, go home, forget about it. And I believe that our integrity are the same. To answer your question, every one that took the survey, every answer that was given is given exactly how we received it.
Thank you, Jack.
Ms. Jones?
Okay, how many people did not take the survey?
You know,
How many was sent out?
Ms. Frida, we sent it out to every section.
So there's approximately 800?
Yes, ma'am.
So 100, this is 120,
120 out of that.
okay.
Yeah.
I had
Now, and again, when you look at that, personally, I was hoping we'd have more. But, only thing I don't want to say really I'm responsible for, but I guess I am, really the council, was making sure that everybody had the opportunity.
Right. And I don't think anybody's saying the integrity of this survey. I know the survey results are 100% accurate. But my concern is that the people that did not respond,
Wow.
how do they feel? And I got a text just before the meeting started, and I think this is appropriate to actually read this. It says, when CCEA presents the survey results, ask what percentage filled it out. Many who don't feel the same were not comfortable filling it out in case of repercussions. And I have no idea who this is.
Right?
But we've got to look at that also. And also, in this survey, there's no room for improvement. It's good, outstanding. So, that's almost unbelievable.
How about maintaining the excellence? It's hard to get there, if there is such a thing. But if there is, and in some people's eyes they're there, but should we not help that director maintain that in our eyes?
Well,
If we think
and
it's
you-
just good, should
and
we
you've
not
got-
help that individual move from good to excellent?
And it's good to know that 120 teachers feel this way, but also teachers need to understand there's a different side to just
Okay.
a
Now,
director's.
yes. Ms. Frida, the thing is, that 120 response may not have all been teachers. You see, we
Right.
don't know because it's anonymous
Right.
and it was sent to everybody in the system that worked in the educational system. We can't think about in our minds why this person would not do the survey. You had one that sent you a text. Why? I mentioned that at the very beginning.
Right.
That there were
And-
people that.
and
would
I
say,
will
"Listen,
tell you this, that
I'm
whenever-
afraid," because reprisal was not going to be what they thought, wasn't going to be from the director of schools. It was going to be from you all.
No,
And that's tragic.
we don't hire and fire.
I know. But
But
you know.
I
what-
do know as a former teacher and member I was a member of CCA my entire career. I support CCA 100%. And I support every one of you teachers. You will not find anybody more pro public education than me. But I also know that as a former teacher, I would not fill out any survey that I felt like that I was going to have to be derogatory, because I know that it can be found out who said it. And I'm just throwing that out
Well,
there for
I'm-
the
okay,
public to know.
true. And I'm not sure, number one, how you could find out. I don't know out of 120 that you could find mine.
I've worked in the central office a lot, and I know exactly how you can find anybody's.
According to the reason why we chose SurveyMonkey as a
And that's
tool,
still-
which we did,
That still can be,
is because, well, anything can be. If you want to, probably Randy can dive
Right,
into
he
anything he
can.
wants to
he can.
and put syrup on it and just eat it up.
Right. And that's my point.
But I think this goes back to our integrity again. What it was the purpose of it in the first place. Everybody had an opportunity. And that's where that lies. And again, I don't know out of the 120 how many were not teachers. But I do know that there were some that said, we want to have the opportunity to do the survey, and they were not teachers. So again, there's no way I can.
Ms. Parsley, do you have anything? Mr. Crabtree, go ahead.
I'd like to ask Ms. Jones, you want to know how many people might have been negative but didn't report because they were afraid of repercussions. I want to ask you, how many of them do you think, according to the words that this man stated, didn't take part in this survey because they don't believe it's going to make a bit of difference?
I don't understand what you meant.
Well, I don't understand what you meant then.
I meant,
How many
this is
do you
exactly
think-
what I meant. There are people that would not take the survey because they did not want anyone to know how they felt.
And how many do you think didn't take the survey because they didn't believe it would change anything in the voting? Answer me that.
That's democracy. Mr. Chair, can I use the restroom? Are we in a town hall? Are we in a meeting? Or are we in a work session?
Point of personal preference.
I mean, what are we in?
All
You know?
right.
Point of
The-
personal
We will finish his conversation and we'll take a break. Okay? Do you have a question, Mr. Gilly? Or any
No,
comment?
no.
Miss Jennifer, can you hear me? Do you have any question or for Mr. Harndren or Mr. Cordell?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cordell. All right. Thank you, Mr. Harndon. We appreciate your time and the efforts that you've
Thank you.
If you would like, Mr. Damewood could speak to his capabilities as it relates to SurveyMonkey results. I mean, since that came up.
That
Again,
sounds-
are we
I'd
in
like
a
to hear
work
that.
session, a town hall, or?
We're at a presentation.
Our board meeting.
Yeah, our board meeting will begin in just a minute.
Oh, okay, so we in.
Oh,
If I may, I know.
This is a presentation like we've had
presentation
Mr.
goes along
Damewood, and we've
with-
had different,
Goes along with part of your board meeting.
Right, as of, I think there may be a few other
But-
people.
Yes, sir.
yeah, but these people, what they did was they contacted us even before the survey went out. And they said that they followed policy and they requested to be able to present.
Oh, yes, that's
So,
fine to
and
have
so
a
that's why we
presentation,
put
and I
them where
like
they
it. I
put
mean,
them,
thank you
and
for the
so-
presentation, and I'm just trying to figure out at what point we are, because I know there's other
Yeah.
people here to speak and
Yeah,
talk
and so
about
we're
time
gonna,
and things. And
as soon as we close this, then we're going to move directly to the agenda. We'll take the break first.
Unless you got somebody else that needs to speak, because everybody's got to speak before we commence in the agenda, correct?
Everybody has
From
to
the
speak.
public.
Mhm. We have one request for a public comment.
And hopefully it won't be an hour, but I'm not knocking the hour. I'm just.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harnden. Thank you. All right, at this point, do we want to take a restroom break for 5 minutes? That'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll get moving on the agenda.
Yeah. Sorry.
Actually work.
I guess I'm getting older.
I told you before, it's the retaliation papers from the board, not from him. Look at the board member comes in and tells me my nephew needs to be fired.
And there'll be 21 to 23% of the people who vote was registered to vote for this vote. Does that mean that I am going to discard their vote? I want to remain on this board. That's what those 23% of the people say.
Do they know when we said to come back?
Ms. Westmoreland is gonna send them a text real quick.
There's Mr. Cordell.
Jennifer's around here, ain't she?
Yeah. There's Miss Jennifer. All right, we have all made it back. At this time, we did have one request for public comment, Miss Bradley. And so if, Sarah, would you like to come to the microphone and state your name for the record? And you have 5 minutes to talk on the item that you wanted to speak on.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Bradley, former New Union parent, current CCMS, former CCRA will be again, and CCHS president, parent, and booster and all that. I'm actually speaking to you probably not about what you expected, but about policy 2.806, which came out of committee. It is my understanding that a board member, I don't know who, has asked that it go back to committee. I'm kind of curious if we are maybe thinking on the same wavelength. But since it appears it will go back to committee, I really don't need to say a lot tonight. But I would like to hand out, I know, you are welcome. This proposed revision, the text in yellow is not any change. It's just something I'd like to bring to your attention. The text in red is my suggestion to ensure that we come into and remain in compliance with state procurement laws, which do require competitive selection for construction administration services. We have not done that in quite a long while. I did not add on here because I didn't think about it till I was driving over that we may want to put something in there about federal. We have used this exemptions from competitive bidding in the legal reference to just ignore the governing law, which actually applies to the school district, and non-competitively select architect for previous projects. The state hasn't called us out on it. As far as I know, we haven't been called out on that for the ESSER projects, but I don't think that's totally closed out. What's done is done, but moving forward, we do need to comply with state and federal laws regarding procurement of professional services, specifically construction, pre-construction administration and management. It's in here, as well as 2 new legal references. Because the federal provision was a last-minute idea, I don't have legal references on here, but it would be CFR 2, Subtitle A, Chapter 2, Part D. I'm guessing 318, 20, somewhere in there. But I could get those to you. And also, I'm glad we are finally, after years of requests, complying with the Open Meetings Act as far as committees are concerned. I would ask that we also come into compliance with Public Chapter 300 by holding a public comment period during committee meetings. This would have been much more appropriately addressed at the committee level. So just a few laws we need to brush up on.
Thank you.
Apologies. Only page 1 is our policy. The other pages are policies that have been adopted by numerous districts in Tennessee. I have printed the copies from Williamson County. Those are TSBA model policies. You'll see the same thing across numerous districts. They pertain to facility planning, budgeting, all those things we need to do. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Now, we did have 2.804 expenses and reimbursements that was sent out in our packet, but it did not get on to the agenda and listed here. So I have had a board member that has requested that that be put down as an action item to number 13 to possibly send it back to committee. Okay? So although it is not listed here, we're going to bump it down to item number 13, 2.804.
Yeah, that was approved in the first reading last.
It was approved in the first reading, but it wouldn't have been approved today because it wasn't listed. We'll go ahead and address it and put it down there. Is there any other request on this before we?
Oh.
Okay. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to accept the agenda with that one change of 2.04, and the general will pass the general consent items and adopt our accept our action items for tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree, Ms. Rose. Okay. So we will have 13 action items instead of 12. We will begin the vote with Mr. Ballard tonight. Mr. Ballard?
Aye.
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 And Miss Jennifer? Would you like to vote? Aye. And Mr. Cordell, are you still there? We've lost Mr. Cordell. The chair votes aye. That passes 8.
I think you come in.
You there, Mr. Cordell?
Yes,
Okay, and the chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. All right, so we've adopted our agenda for tonight. Action item number 1, the director's contract. I'd like to open the floor up for any motion.
Move to accept the contract that's been presented for the extension for Dr. Lawson's contract.
Okay, so we've had a motion to accept the
Second.
contract by Ms. Rose and a second by Mr. Crabtree.
Mr. Chair, a quick modification to that. The word needs to be renewal, not
Correct.
not
Yep.
extension.
Sorry.
Extension.
Renew, okay. I will amend that to contract extension.
I agree.
To contract renewal.
Contract.
Renewal, I'm sorry, yeah, okay. Been a long
agree.
day. Sorry.
So there's
Renewal,
been a motion-
renewal.
Yeah,
Sorry, okay.
for a contract renewal that's presented by Dr. Lawson, by Ms. Rose, and Mr. Crabtree seconded it. Okay. Who would like to start? Is there questions or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I have
Go ahead, Mr. Ballard.
a marked up copy of the contract here. There's really two issues here. It's whether we want to extend Dr. Lawson or give him an extension. And there is the issue of the contract, which I have documented in the 2 times it's been considered before. And quite frankly, I'm a little exasperated that no changes have been made to this contract. So I do have copies here. And that's all the same. So there's one for Nathan, if you like. And, I believe there should be enough for Ms. Westmoreland and admin here. So here's 3 there. So my main consideration of this contract is the fact that it's full of holes, but and none of this has, my markup reflects that, but the main issue that I have with it is outlined in yellow, and there's a key at the front of this, is that 6 times in a 10-page contract, this agreement references an annual performance agreement, which is basically performance standards for Dr. Lawson. This agreement does not exist, has not existed. And if we approve this contract, we're not doing our job as a board. until you have this document referenced, then this contract is, it explicitly incorporates this document by reference. And I can't, it's basically akin to signing a contract to buy a house without the interest rate being included. So it's a flaw in this contract. I have some other issues with the contract, but that is the main one. This is in here 6 times, and it's just, the contract is a separate issue. I did promise some people that I would try to explain my vote better or my reasoning, so I'm honoring that promise here by doing this. And I'm hoping that by writing this up, that this documentation would be here for everybody. So that's my comment here.
I'm curious, being,
Ms. Rose, go ahead.
since this is, I came on after Dr. Lawson was hired, was there an annual performance agreement for the prior superintendent or director of schools?
Are you asking me?
No, anybody who knows. I don't know. I wasn't here when her contract was drawn up. Was there an annual performance agreement associated with that contract?
Specifically that contract.
I'm just wondering if there wasn't one in existence and this was something that was new that was brought up for Dr. Lawson's contract, where did that terminology, what was the origin of that terminology? And is annual performance agreement, is that supposed to be another name for the outcome of the evaluation that we do, that is supposed to be completed by the 1st of April?
Now, if you look in here, they are completely separate documents. So if you look under performance evaluation, section 14, it references the annual performance evaluation, and it separately references the annual performance agreement. So they are separate documents.
So it's because the performance agreement, because we don't have that information, was that his fault that there's not a performance agreement, or is that the board's fault?
Matter.
Yeah, it does matter.
Does matter.
Well, because it does to
You're
who's going to
saying
do
that-
it, but as far as if we proceed with a contract, I don't think,
So Dr. Lawson, was this contract, do we have legal counsel that does contracts and has looked at this contract for us?
This contract, the initial contract when I was hired was reviewed by Chuck Cagle, and this is essentially the same contract as what Chuck Cagle reviewed at first. Has this been sent to Chuck Cagle himself since the change? No, because the only changes were to the work calendar section and to the compensation section and the dates. That's the only change that has occurred since Chuck Cagle reviewed it, to my knowledge.
Logic tells me that the annual performance agreement would be an outgrowth of the director's evaluation, which would be a process that would identify strengths and weaknesses, which would allow us to come up with an improvement plan should one be needed. And the annual performance agreement would be the result of the presentation of that improvement plan. We say to Dr. Lawson, these are the things we want to see you do, improve upon, and he agrees with that or not. But this says duties specified in the job description and the annual performance agreement. So what I'm hearing y'all say is there's never been an annual performance agreement. That animal doesn't exist.
It does not, and
Then I would think that then let's get rid of that terminology in here.
Well, if you go back to Section 14, again, the annual performance evaluation is basically just referenced in here and says it shall be completed. The performance standard for the director, according to Section 14 here, is the annual performance review and the goals that are established. So the annual performance evaluation, according to this contract, is not what we use to evaluate the director's performance. It lies with the annual performance agreement. Now, I did go to Ben Torres at TSBA and had him provide some example contracts that also had performance agreements in there. And it's not that uncommon to have a performance agreement with a director of schools. It's probably more common than not, so.
I'm not questioning whether it's common or not. I'm asking
Where
why
is it?
we've been signing contracts with terminology in here for a document we don't have.
Well, I didn't sign the last
Previous
contract.
years, that's a good
All I
question.
can do is point out
Viable
flaws in the
question.
contract.
And it's a valid point. It's a valid point.
What, was this in LaDonna McFall's contract?
I
People
wasn't-
that were here
I wasn't here.
before. 3 people were here before.
And I don't remember the specifics of that contract.
I think it's only 2.
Me and Miss Frida.
Okay, okay.
So what I'm hearing is that you don't believe that he needs we don't need to consider his contract. And what I'm trying to do is collect the ideas of why not. And I've heard in past meetings it was because we didn't have a 5-year plan, and this time is the contract is not correct. And I've heard that it was too early. And so I guess what I want to hear is what in his performance or where has he let us down that we would not hire him to be our director, not if there's, what has he done and what is he in the process of doing that's making our system better? And if he's failed at that, then that's the ideas or that's the reasons I want to hear. Not that I don't like his contract, which those can be changed. They can be modified. We can make motions to strike things from the contract. We can change the contract. Okay?
Is that what Mr. Torres told you could happen, that could come out?
Why can we not vote with,
Whatever he said,
if
yeah.
he is,
Yep.
if he is renewed, then we can take care of the contract? I mean, we need a vote.
I don't know why. I don't know why we are. I mean, by law, from the time of his current contract ends, we just have to do this by December of 2024. We've got to give him within 6 months of the end of his current contract.
We've already done
6
that.
months notice.
We've already done that twice.
I don't think, man,
Crabtree?
Hearing no real progress in discussion, Mr. Chairman, I would call the question.
Let me make sure that no one else wants to make a comment from Miss Jennifer or Miss Jennifer. Would you like to make any comments? Okay, Mr. Cordell, would you like to make a comment or two, or have a question?
Not this time.
Okay.
I want to know, can we vote on this contract if I amend my motion and strike the term annual performance agreement as part of this
I
contract?
thought question was called.
We wasn't
We have to
voted. We
vote
hadn't
on it.
voted. You have to vote on question
Yeah.
being called. So, and we haven't voted on that at this
I
point.
didn't think it was debatable.
I need an answer to my question.
I guess she can, I don't think, yeah.
I think what you have to do right now, you have to proceed on the call to question. I do not believe that at this time you can discuss an amendment to the original motion. That is to the best of my recollection.
Okay. So do we have a second to call the question?
I'll second it.
And so I do not think there is a discussion phase on this. You just go to the vote, but this vote is on call to question.
Correct.
It's not on the motion, it is on
Not on the
call to
motion, to call
question.
the question. Okay.
Can someone explain that to me? It was kind of hard to
Okay.
hear all of that. I don't know what that means, call the question.
Okay, and somebody can correct me if I am wrong, but a call, anytime that a debate is deemed to be you're not making any forward progress in the debate, a member of the governing body can make a motion to call to question. Then that receives a second. And so once that has occurred, then the board members will, any member of the voting legislative body will vote whether to call to question. So basically what happens if a person votes yes, then debate ceases and you move immediately to voting on the original motion, which is the director's contract renewal. If you vote no, that means that the discussion phase for the original you're in favor of continuing discussion on the original motion. So what happens here is the majority, what we're voting on right now would be the call to question. If a majority of the board members vote yes, then the next thing that the chairman will do is he will take a vote on the contract renewal. If the majority of people vote no at this point, then we will move on and continue discussion of the director's contract. So yes means we move to vote on the original motion. No means we
Have more discussion.
we have more discussion.
Okay, you understand? Mr. Cordell, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we are voting to call the question. Mr. Parsley, you're up.
No.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Hold on. Yes. Ms. Jennifer?
Yes.
Mr. Cordell? I'm sorry? Yes? Chair votes no. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 3, and it passes. So at that point, we are going to go to the vote.
And this would be the vote on the contract renewal as presented.
This will be vote on the contract renewal as presented without any modifications. Okay. Everybody understand that? Okay. This is the vote. Miss Jones, you're up.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
no,
Yes.
Miss Jennifer.
No.
Mr. Cordell.
No.
Chair votes yes. It fails 6 to 3. Okay? That motion failed 6 to 3.
This contract has
That
failed.
contract has failed. Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to present a second motion.
Okay.
I would like to move that the contract extension be granted. Extension, no.
Oh, that was a vote on the renewal and it failed.
Renewal, my extension keeps coming out, okay. That was on the renewal of this contract.
That is correct.
That's correct. So that failed.
But if I want to make a change to this contract,
That was not an option.
seriously.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we have voted on that, so it failed.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
Under these circumstances, I move that this board terminate Charles Lawson's contract as of June 30th without cause.
Second the motion.
All right, to terminates contract without cause, June 30th. And that was made by Ms. Rose. And there was a second by
Me.
Bradford. Okay, we've had a motion to terminate the contract June 30th, I assume of 2024.
Yes.
Okay. You make the motion, you have the right to make the first comment if you would like.
This board has demonstrated on 3 separate occasions that it has no confidence in Dr. Lawson. We have listened to the results of staff survey. We see the crowd in the room tonight. We have heard from people, and I don't believe if the good Lord came down here and sat someone in that chair that people would be satisfied. This is not an easy thing to do, but if we're not going to back him, and if we're going to look at the test scores that we have and the way we have run circles around area school systems this year with the data that's been given to us from the state, if we're going to look at all of that, and we're going to look at the comments that have been made about ethics and leadership and dedication to a job, if we're going to look at that and we're going to say, nope, we're not interested in that, cut him loose and let's start looking for another superintendent. And just let me say, I can't wait to see what comes through the door.
Don't ask us for surveys. Because it doesn't matter.
Any more comments, questions?
Call my question.
Miss Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I need to turn my speaker down. I just think it's too early. I like Dr. Lawson. I'm not saying that I want to fire him. I'm not saying that I would never vote to renew his contract. I think it's a little premature. I would rather see evaluation scores and get closer to the time that's appropriate. That's my viewpoint. So in my head, it's not a rush to do this. I don't know that everyone realizes there's still a year and a half left. We're not getting rid of Dr. Lawson. I don't really want that. This feels too early to me.
It's really not too early the way this works. And actually, we have essentially voted him out tonight. This was the last vote. I won't bring it back in the next 6 months as the chair.
Wait until after evaluations and talk about this in
The
June.
problem is we have legal things that we're not able to vote on his contract around election time. We've got budget coming up. There's many different things. It takes a very long time to do a director search. So we have got to put in motion right now the ideas to start finding a new director by the time his contract, whether it expires or whether we pass this motion.
No, we don't. You're not in election time. You're not in anything with law. You're not in any interference by December, October, November, December of next year. It's 45 days before and 45 days after. But law does say that at the end of his term of contract, you've got 6 months to let him know a yay or nay or maybe or possible. You can hire him, rehire him, or extend him up to the last day of his contract.
You cannot
But
extend.
6 months ahead of time, you gotta let him know.
You cannot extend him. His contract
If
was
he's
4
in his last
years.
year, you can extend, but no more than 2 years.
You can't extend it at all because the contract was 4 years and the maximum you can do is 4 years on a single contract.
A single contract, but
You
within
would
the
have
6
to
month time
renew
period
a
of the
contract.
end.
You
within
would
the
have
6
to
months, you can
renew
do
a
2 year
contract. You cannot extend.
We've been through this year after year, but either which way, it's, point being, I mean, this doesn't have to take place.
This board has consistently voted no confidence over 3 times. And therefore, it's time to make a decision. Make a decision and get on with it. And if we're going to get rid of him, let's get rid of him and find somebody else.
Because people do make plans, and even Dr. Lawson. And so if he's waiting till the last minute he is an educated man that has many talents, and he is going to make choices and probably would not wait on us till December, would be my bet. Is that correct, Dr. Lawson, or am I incorrect?
That is correct.
Okay.
Explain, Dr. Nestor, what this will entail, because this will be paying out his contract, correct?
This would be, I assume, Ms., the way you made the
Yeah,
motion.
without cause, yeah, because we have no reason.
I just want the public to understand.
We have no reason to dismiss him.
But we're not in the time to necessarily have to rehire right now, so the law is plain.
Hiring a superintendent, and some of y'all, I'm preaching to the choir to some of you. You know what you went through to have hired a superintendent before. If it's done correctly, it's a lengthy process. And I'm not saying that, everybody sitting up here is the smartest kid in the room. You wait till next year, though. You've got a whole bunch of new board members who are coming on, who are going to have to be involved in that search. So you're going to be educating them at the same time you are trying to find someone to maintain the progress that this school system has made. And you want to find somebody who's got a passion for what they do. You want to find somebody who runs deep and believes in Coffee County. You do not want somebody to come in here who's looking to pump up a resume for 2 years and then go to a bigger school system.
I think we all know that, Ms. Rose.
I don't think we do.
And I would like to say this. From now on, I want to communicate directly with you, not through any intermediary. I think a lot of you don't understand what our board is and how we feel. There's a lot of misconceptions, and I don't like to I don't like for anyone to misunderstand my stance and my passion for this county and this school system. And I understand that evidently I missed an email thread at one time where y'all were asking to be a part of communicating with us. And that is one thing that I am for, is direct communications. I don't need anyone putting words in my mouth or saying something that I said. And I hope that whoever comes in here from now on as a director will see that that is very important, that the school board needs to be heard directly, not through someone else or what someone else is saying, what we believe in and what we don't.
Let's,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I see no forward movement. I call the question.
Okay, question's been
Second.
called. We had a second, and so this is to call the question. A yes means we stop, and a no means we can continue to debate. Ms. Rose,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Crabtree,
Yes.
Mr. Gilly, Miss, let's see, Miss Jennifer,
Yes.
Mr. Cordell,
Nay.
nay, Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Yes.
This is to continue to discuss it.
now this is to
Cease.
vote. Just call the question,
Oh, yes.
and I'll vote yes. Passes 8-1. So, we are going, the motion, let's, the motion was that the board terminate the contract without cause June 30th, 2024. And the vote is with Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
No.
Miss Jennifer, you're next.
No.
Mr. Cordell,
No.
Mr. Ballard.
No.
Aye. That's a yes. Miss Jones.
So we're voting to terminate his contract and pay him out. How much,
Correct.
and what is that?
It'll be whatever his annual salary is.
No.
Yes.
The chair votes no. That fails 6-3. Okay? Action item number 2. Bus surplus. Mr. Shores?
No, and I know I'm not on the
No,
speak, but your board voted for the MOU that he worked with us on. And part of that was that committee that did the survey. You voted on that.
Thank you.
So it's not like you heard from a group that shouldn't have a part in it. That was part of our MOU.
Exactly, but there's 600 to 700 other people in this. That's,
It doesn't matter. You're not-
yes, it does.
Item
It
number
does a
2,
lot.
the bus surplus. Mr. Shores.
Yes, on the bus surplus, we have bus 98,
Everybody
93, which is a Bluebird that has blown head gasket at this time.
We've been over those. We've
It's
been
only
over those.
4,000 miles until
We
it
can
would
carry
have to
on with
come
the
off
meeting, or we
anyway.
can stop and discuss.
I know
I
if you're,
guess.
not if you're talking, we can't carry on with the meeting.
I
Please
wasn't
be
talking
quiet.
to you, I was talking to him.
Well, I
so
know,
keep
but
it
you're
quiet.
interrupting because we do have microphones that go everywhere. Mr. Shores has the floor.
We have bus 98, 93 that is got a blown head gasket. It only has 4,000 more miles on it that we would, if we fixed it, that we would be able to get out of it. It's just not worth, it doesn't make business sense to repair a bus for 4,000 more miles and to keep it going. So we're asking to surplus it at this time.
Okay? Dr. Lawson, does this bus surplus come with your recommendation?
It does.
Okay, you've heard the director's recommendation to surplus this bus. I would like to entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
I'll make that, I'll second the motion.
We had Mr. Crabtree, and I think Miss Rose beat you on the second. Any discussion? Okay, action item number 2, we are surplusing the bus. Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Miss Jennifer.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell.
Aye.
Mr. Ballard.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Action item number 3, the job description for the industrial maintenance teacher. Dr. Lawson.
Yes, this is board approval is required for new job descriptions. What we are hoping to do is at the high school create an industrial maintenance position. The final decisions on that will be based upon course requests, class sizes, enrollment, and that kind of thing. So this is, the board is not necessarily saying, yes, we're going to create this. We're going to confirm that the demand is there, but once the demand is there, we want to be able to move forward immediately, and the only way we can do that is to have a job description to post. And so all we're doing right now is asking to approve the job description so that if as we suspect that there will be enough demand for an industrial maintenance position, we just want to be able to post it as soon as we confirm that demand.
Okay, and this job description for the industrial maintenance teacher does come with your recommendation.
It does.
I'd like to enter on the floor for a motion to accept the job description.
So moved.
Mr. Parsley and Mr. Cordell got the second. Any questions on this job description?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead.
What's the kind of general direction of where this is leading? Because industrial maintenance teacher, industrial maintenance could be several different avenues. Is it going to be geared towards one?
I think part of that depends, I mean, obviously, I think that's going to depend partly upon the expertise of the person that we're able to attract to the position. Obviously,
Bringing in those different areas of.
What we will do is basically Mr. Skipper, and he could not be here today because there is a conference that he is attending in Nashville. But basically, he tracks what's in demand, what transitions well into the surrounding technical colleges and that kind of thing, and I trust his judgment on this. But
Which obviously would be great for every single one of those items, from HVAC, electrical.
Right, and
all that,
obviously,
manufacturing.
if we end up with somebody with a particular strength, my guess is the concentrator will be in that direction. But it's difficult to say right now until we know that person. But this is a broad-based job description to help give us some latitude in order to make those adjustments.
Any more questions, concerns about the job description? Not, we're voting to approve action item number 3. Miss Jennifer, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
Mr. Ballard?
Aye.
Mr. Parsley?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Digital sign for Hillsborough. Mr. Shores or Dr. Lawson?
Go ahead.
Okay, digital sign at Hillsborough Elementary, they're looking at a sign to put at the road that's a digital sign. These are fairly pricey, but we put it out to bid, and out of all the bids that we did come in with, there's actually only one that actually had all the specs. They had the specs of the EMC size as well as the pixel that was required, and that is Signarama out of Tullahoma. And you will see in the green there, that's the easiest way for me to mark it. And the reason why you have different numbers here is Hillsborough is wanting to get prices for 2 different sizes of signs, and to do that, we put it out so that they could actually bid or put in a bid for both sides or sizes, and then Hillsborough was able to look at it and say, yes, we have the funds for that or not, or we need to drop back to the smaller one. And they were able to go with the larger one, which is the 121 and 25/100 inch by 63 and 75/100 inch. That's the EMC size. That's not including the school. There's a school sign on top of it, and then it's at $46,420 for the bid by Signarama.
Okay. Dr. Lawson, does this digital sign bid from Signarama come with your recommendation?
Well, I'm going to say the last time this came up, the board indicated they would rather go with the principal's recommendation on this type of purchase, and you'll see that listed right there. And that is Ms. Morton.
Okay.
So I will defer to her for
Okay.
this one if you want to ask her.
Ms. Morton, you do recommend that would be the sign that Hillsborough would prefer?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, I'd like to open the floor for a motion to accept the digital sign bid for Signarama for $46,420. Mr. Parsley, do I hear a second?
I so moved.
Mr. Cordell? Yeah. Any, okay, thank you, Mr. Cordell. Any questions about the,
I have one question. What kind of guarantees have they given you about maintenance on this?
In the bid specs, it has a 5-year warranty built in with it.
Well, you stay on them because they don't always show up as fast as they say they're going to.
And I would like to say also.
I beg to differ.
I'd like to say, with Signarama, and actually, Cooks is actually somewhat bidding through Signarama.
Yeah.
Same people.
Is that fair to say?
I think, am I right?
And I want to say that the one that's here, they have been very good to work with, and whenever somebody's been called, they've been there to take care of the problem.
I don't think
Okay.
the Jumbotron's ever been down more than a couple of hours. So, pretty good. Not bad.
Congratulate you on that.
You're not cutting a curb, are you, in new asphalt to get power out there or anything?
We are having to do some things to get power to the sign, yes.
But
Just like
not-
we would anywhere, yes.
You're not going through your new sidewalk and all that good stuff, are you?
We're not going through a sidewalk, we're actually moving the sign, if you approve it. And if you've been to Hillsborough where you turn in, there's a little knoll, I call it, just a very narrow one. That's going to end up being where we would go with it. It will require us to cut through the asphalt. We've already talked to somebody to get the electric there and to do the patchwork with concrete.
any more questions? If not, we're going to vote to approve item number 4, the digital sign to Signarama for $46,420. Mr. Cordell, your first vote.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Action item number 5, handrails and intermediate steps, Coffee County Central High School gym bleachers. Dr. Lawson, Mr. Shores, where do we want to start on this?
I'll take a little bit of it, and Mr. Shores has been directly involved in this and meeting with these representatives, so he'll clean up anything that I mess up. Basically, what we are looking at is, this has been investigated, the handrails in the bleachers at the high school gymnasium. Now, currently, there are not handrails, there are not half steps. It is an old enough system, it is grandfathered in, and we do not face ADA requirements. Now, once you start modifying an existing structure, then you are supposed to complete the job through its totality until you are completely handicapped accessible. So what we did was we had 2 different things drawn up, and this is under the this is under the
No, this is under,
cooperative purchasing.
yes.
Cooperative purchasing. And so we had we had bleachers and seats come in. If they put in handrails, we will also be required to cut the aisle to 48 inches, and we can't do just one. You have to do, it's an all or nothing kind of thing in order to be ADA compliant. Because we asked if you could do just the center aisle and not the sides, but if you move that way, according to the ADA regulations, you have to do it all. So you would cut the aisles to 48 inches, move seat supports, install aisle rails in on both sides. Now, because you're cutting into the seat, the seating occupancy will be reduced by approximately 192. So 192 seats down. That is based upon the linear feet of bleacher that is removed. divided by 18 inches, which is the standard, although I'm aware that not a lot of people can fit in 18 inches of bleacher. So that's basically where that number comes from. But we will lose seating capacity, but it will add rails. The other thing, in order to become completely ADA compliant, we would have to put in intermediate steps. If you've been in the gymnasium, you will notice that the steps are quite tall and quite deep. So in order to be fully compliant, you would have to put in a small half step in between that would slide into the bleacher and remain there. So those two bids are placed in there. Whoever, the motion can be made for one or both, depending upon how the board wants to do it. These are not tied together for the company. This board can elect to adopt one or both of these options. But we provided it for you as a total. We can, because we justified it under the use of instructional space, it can be used from ESSER 3.0. It's a little more money than we had budgeted in there for that, but we can make amendments to our ESSER thing, to our ESSER plan, if that is what the board elects to do. And you can see some details right there, but that is where we are. So if what the board could elect to just do the railings, and what we would do is say we're going to do the intermediate steps at some point in the future. My understanding is you have to plan to do it sometime in the future, but that future point is you don't have a time limit, is our understanding. Or it can be a motion to do all the jobs or none of the jobs. And so that's because it is grandfathered in already. But basically to become fully compliant with rails will cost over $93,000. But, Mr. Shores, did I miss anything?
I think you pretty much got it. And it is Sourcewell, which is a cooperative purchasing.
Okay, and so would it come with your recommendation to do the entire project?
Well, that's a little tough because on that, I'm going to say we can make the necessary budgetary arrangements in ESSER to do the entire project if that is what the board wishes to do. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So at this time, I would like to open up the floor for a motion.
So move.
What is your motion to accept
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
to accept
Yes.
both of them at this point? Okay, so we've had a motion to accept the bleachers and the
Rails
Bleachers
and
and
steps.
Handrails and
bleachers and
intermediate
the
steps.
handrails and the steps. Yes.
Second.
We've had a second. So Ms. Jones,
Who was the second? I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Crabtree.
Mr. Crabtree. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chair.
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So if we try to do some handrails on our own, then we have no choice but to fully go. We can't just do a piece to make ours better for ourselves.
When the fact that it's not just installing handrails. When we start getting into cutting into the bleachers and all that kind of stuff, we're going to be much better covered if we have this professionally done by a contractor
Right.
that is specific to this particular job. I'm going to go ahead and say I would not feel comfortable having my maintenance department cut into bleachers.
No, and I wasn't getting at that. I think I remember the last time we talked about it when we was talking about replacing the bleachers, and there's not a recorded. We've not found nobody at that time. Nobody found a case that had been of anybody getting hurt. I mean, obviously we've all probably tripped and fell on them, but because what brought me there, I was ready when I seen this on there at Warren County at the basketball game. They got very similar bleachers to what we have in the gym here, and their General Metals, their welding class, built those that they have, those handrails, and they just bolt down into the treads that are there. I have some pictures that I took over there, and it was really, really neat and economical, and that would get a handrail for some people. But I guess my question, and that would be great for our kids to be able to do those and build those in the classroom.
Now, the way I understand these handrails actually will be part of the bleacher, and when it
These
goes
are
up,
too.
they fold up in with it. And
So the bleachers still closed, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
these are two over in Warren County, and they staggered them every other step.
I was
and they're
thinking though, at
hinged.
one of the meetings, they told us something that those were torn up. Part of them didn't close.
No, that was motor. It was missing motors
We,
back then.
we have,
So
we
it's been
have,
replaced or fixed?
the
Yeah.
previous
Okay.
discussion, we replaced all the motors, multiple wheels. That's, when the discussion came up before about whether to replace or repair, the board elected to repair, and we did that, and, this is just another step. I can't speak to what Warren County has done. All I can say is that, we're talking about, I don't know. I'm going to say I don't, without consulting legal, I'm going to say I definitely would not have students construct anything without contacting and consulting with the board attorney.
Well, if the plan, because obviously you're going to have a plan of them, you're going to have a design of them, they're going to have to pass engineering of pool capacity and such of that nature.
And I will say this, if we're going to fund this with ESSER, the work has to be started and completed by September. And so that's also, so if we wanted to put this off to the March meeting and let me consult with the lawyer and that kind of thing, I'm just saying that
Or the work session
I,
coming up.
but again, if we add time, then the question mark becomes whether we can get it accomplished for
I
ESSER.
still want to say, cutting those bleachers and opening up the aisles.
We wouldn't be, they didn't cut none of theirs and they didn't open them up.
Okay.
They just made a handrail system to help with accessing their grandfathered bleachers, per se.
And I would have to look at it.
Right,
but-
and I'd like to have time to
and-
show
and-
y'all that.
yeah.
and-
Looking at what we have a 36-inch aisle right now. And if you throw a handrail, if you put it directly in the middle, you've cut yourself to 1.5 feet to walk, and you start getting tight. And if you put it next to the seat,
You're blocking.
then you're blocking people from being able to
Yeah.
get out. I'm going to tell you, I really don't feel comfortable with us doing this. This is one of those jobs I really don't feel comfortable with doing. I'm talking about us, our guys and people. But I haven't seen what they did in Warren County.
When did y'all find the money? This is very interesting because I've been asking for this forever.
I actually, right after you brought it up, and I want to say it was
2 years ago.
November, I ended up pulling up and
2 years
called,
ago.
and we went and brought people in to look at it, see what we could do. And that's where we started coming up with the prices and so forth. Then, of course, ESSER, the way ESSER works and so forth. But that's where we started at.
And I could be wrong, but I think cutting the capacity down by approximately 192 people put us right down there in the capacity that the new bleachers were going to be, because the new bleachers didn't have near the
Yeah, they
capacity as the old ones. And
Right.
this will put us right in there. So it'll be basically, instead of spending $750,000,
I think that at that time, the new bleachers, I think it was 200 to a bay. So it's going to be a total of 400,000 for the entire.
I remember 798 is what we was trying to consider. I
Okay,
believe.
I'd have to look it back up. I was thinking it was, I could be wrong.
But and who knows what's happened since then to now.
Right. That's been a little while back.
But, and I will say, I will reiterate what I said a while ago. That calculation of 192 is only as accurate as simply taking the linear feet cut out divided by 18. So,
Few more is gonna squeeze in
in
there,
the
probably.
real world, probably don't lose that exact number. But that's how we calculated it based upon standard calculations.
Are these uncommitted ESSER? I mean, do we have any uncommitted ESSER funds at this point?
No.
Okay.
We
So,
have, as I explained a moment ago, we have some committed to this, not enough, but we can move stuff from other areas, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
But we need to get them both done at the same time because ESSER is gonna run out. So
The
if you're gonna get
timeline-
ESSER to pay for it, you need to
time-
get it done.
Yes, the timeline on ESSER means we need to get this started and finished as quickly as possible.
There's more concerns or questions or any changes that anybody sees? If not, we'll vote to accept the bid for the handrails and the intermediate steps. Okay,
And the estimated cost again,
I'm sorry, what, Mr. Cordell?
and the estimated cost again.
Estimated cost,
Approximately almost 94,000. Well, 93,000, be closer.
No, it would round.
93.6.
Is 93, yeah. Yeah, closer to 94, sorry. Yes.
Shoots the heck out of 94.
And it's from ESSER funds, so it's not local money.
Yeah.
okay, so we're gonna vote on action item number 5 to approve that. Mr. Ballard, I think you're back up again?
Aye.
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 Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell? Chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Classroom furniture bid, Mr. Shores.
Okay, each year we're working on continuing the process of improving our furniture in our schools. We're at the high school. The high school is such a large place. We were able to do like Hickerson and East and New Union and North and the elementaries and even ninth grade. Basically, each year we were able to pop it out pretty quick. The high school is just a monster in size. It's just, there's so many desks and different kinds of furniture. And right now we're mainly in the science area. This does finish up a lot of the other areas that we are working on, but we are really kicking in on the science. And you can see here what we have. It's itemized, and I actually put the complete itemized list with it, so you're able to see each cost of each item. And you can see that it's $187,690.74. And this is using TIPS contract with Cooperative Purchasing Agency. And you can see what's here. And if you have any questions after a motion, be glad to answer.
Okay, and does this furniture bid for Coffee County Central High School come with your recommendation, Dr. Lawson?
It does.
You've heard the director's recommendation to accept the furniture bid that was presented. I'd like to open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Rose, Mr. Crabtree. Any questions on this?
Mr. Shores, how many rooms is this covering this time?
Oh my, my apology. I got it more detailed than the number of rooms, and that's my apology. I don't have it. Well, I could actually go through.
21 teacher chairs.
Yeah,
If
21.
there's 21 teacher chairs, we're probably looking at around
21 rooms. That's what I need. That's
But all the other information, as far as I sent to you, it actually lists what room it is, and I would just have to go through and count each one of those.
Fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Approximately 21 rooms.
Any more questions or concerns about the furniture bid? Not, we're voting to accept it. Mr. Parsley?
Aye.
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 Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
Mr. Ballard?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Action item number 7, CCCHS, CCRA, and Hillsborough window and door replacement. Mr. Shores.
Okay, this is a continuation of the window job that we finished up about a year and a half ago. Hillsborough, there was a couple of windows that was in a room that has a server that were missed, and one egress window. At Raider Academy, the easiest way for me to say it is where the 95 edition is, or where the 6th grade used to be. All those windows are your just push up top, and they are hanging on a regular basis. And what we would be putting in is one storefront window and one egress window like the rest of the building. So it would actually finish it off, make it a whole lot safer in that sense. And then looking at and then also there'll be one pair of doors on the library end, changing out the full hardware, the doors, every bit of it. And then at the high school, looking at the main office at the pass-through window, changing it out to a level 1 ballistic glass, and actually doing a speak-through with a push-through underneath to make that a safer situation. And the total price is $135,285. This was put out to bid. We had approximately 5 or 6 contractors pick up the bid packet. I was hoping to get more bids coming in, and I ended up that day getting one, and that's just the way it worked.
Okay, does this bid come with your recommendation, Dr. Lawson, to accept this bid?
It does.
You've heard the director's recommendation to accept the bid from Brindley for the window and door replacement. Open the floor for a motion to accept the bid.
So moved.
Second.
Rose, Mr. Parsley.
Who was the second?
Mr. Parsley. It's a summer job or any, will it go ahead?
It could end up being a summer job, but they might be able to get some things done during spring break and a little earlier. It just really depends on when they can get the windows in.
Okay.
Since some of the funding is ESSER, it will be
As quick as we
soon
can get it
we
done?
can get them going.
Okay. Any more concerns?
Are these already in the budget? So is this addition to the budget? Are we making budget adjustments on this?
These were in the budget for ESSER.
Okay, all right.
They've been in the capital projects.
We discussed them in capital projects.
Many times, and it's just part of the ongoing.
And actually, the only thing that's going to be out of capital outlay is the doors at Raider Academy, which was $17,020. But everything else was coming out of ESSER.
You said we'd forgot some windows at one of the schools. So.
At Hillsborough Elementary, like I said, there's a server room that nobody uses, and I believe I actually showed the board when we were there. I pointed it out and said, those are windows that we missed. I'm trying to finish those off.
But I guess what I'm saying, they've not missed others at other schools.
No.
I think. Okay.
It's just one of those really unique situations.
Okay.
Okay. We're voting for action item number 7, the window and door replacement for Brindley's. To approve that, Ms. Jones.
Aye.
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 Jennifer.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Jones. Oh, my chair
Started
votes
with
aye.
her. Yeah.
Passes 9-0. Apple Technology bid. Mr. Damewood, I bet this is yours.
Yes, sir. Both the bids, this Apple one and the CDWG, the information will be relatively exactly the same as the description. As someone that uses a server room at Hillsborough, I'd like to express that we're using ESSER funds. These were already budgeted. Our TV warranties of the first TVs that we bought during COVID go out like next week, and it's a 3-year warranty. So part of the purpose is that we're buying these devices to carry us to 2029 and 2031. And we're taking advantage of ESSER money to be able to buy these products. So on the Apple one, we're talking 500 iPads. Some will go to teachers, and some will go to students, the pencils. And then the reason why you see chargers and cables, they're pulled in and out of carts quite regularly, and we have cables that get ripped up and fail. And they are Sourcewell contracts, and this is a vehicle that we bought the previous COVID ones from.
So the total price on this is
$153,200.
$53,200. Okay. Dr. Lawson, does this Apple Technology bid come with your recommendation?
It does.
For the director's recommendations, accept the Apple Technology bid for $153,200. I'd like to open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Ms. Rose. Second.
Second.
Mr. Parsley. Questions and concerns?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Damewood, why are we buying Gen 9 iPads instead of Gen 10s?
They have headphone jacks. Chin 10 doesn't. And then we'd
Doesn't.
have to buy Bluetooth headsets and all kinds of other issues.
Okay.
Plus the cases are different.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
All right. We're going to vote to accept the Apple technology bid. Miss Rose.
Aye.
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 Miss Jennifer.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. The CDW technology bid.
The one thing that's different about that is you'll see that there's hard drives down there. That's actually, we've already buying the teacher computers, and this is a better way to get these hard drives for that computers. We're not using the same source for the hard drives as we do the computers. And then it's pretty much exactly like the Apple one. We're trying to hedge our bets and make sure we have enough devices to last us till that 2029, 2031 date. Plus, one of the TVs will be going into the new CTE building as well. And if we expand any classrooms, then we have the devices to take care of that.
Okay. It comes your recommendation, Dr. Lawson, to accept the CDW technology bid.
It does.
Okay. I'd like to open the floor for a motion to accept the bid that we've been presented to CDW Technology.
So moved.
Ms.
Second.
Rowe, Mr. Crabtree made the motion, and Ms. Rose got the second. Any questions on this one?
What are we gonna do? Is this ESSER money?
Excuse me?
Is this still ESSER funds?
Yes, this was budgeted at the very first day we
Right.
did ESSER.
And
Well,
what
not the ESSER
are we
one, of
gonna
course.
do when that's gone? Will we, I mean, it's gonna be hard to keep this up, isn't it?
Well, that's we're working that's what we're working on. That's why we're spending this money instead of
I mean, I understand that, but I'm looking ahead thinking, this happens every so many years and we're gonna have to come up with more funding.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
My budgetary moves over the last few years and Ms. Melson's budgetary moves over the last few years show a responsible use of funds and an increase in we have gone from restricted and fund balance funds from 6 million up to 15 million. And so that's what we're doing.
Yes, and ESSER ESSER supplanted all that, so what we didn't have to use, we luckily got to keep that, so.
And that's what we've been setting it
Right,
aside
like
for
all other
future
school
use.
systems. They had the same windfall, and that's great.
We're voting on, any more questions for Mr. Damewood?
and the total there is 249,107.50.
$249,107.50. Okay. We're voting to accept that bid. Item number 9, Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Item number 10, use of facilities New Union for Lauren Trail, request waiver of custodial fees. Dr. Lawson, I assume this is like the other ones that we have done?
Well, I need to find out, we had custodial fees on here, but then I heard later that there might be a request to waive more than that, and I'm gonna defer to Ms. Potts to do introductions and that kind of thing.
Right, we request, Ms. Trail, request the waiver of custodial and facility fees. The 40, is that what it's called?
Okay, I'm sorry,
sorry,
I
I
was
was-
getting I'm sorry, go ahead.
Waiver of the custodial fees and the facilities use fee, the $45?
Okay, if that's requesting the waiver of all the fees, it would be the indication there of $45 per week. It depends upon the frequency of practice and that kind of thing. And so my understanding is requesting the waiver of all fees?
Yes.
Okay. Then that's different than what we had at first, because it was marked $45 on here, so it was just custodial fees. What I would recommend is that the board follow the protocol they have set for all their facilities, that for outside entities and any non-district entity, that the facility use fees are in place, but the custodial fee can be waived with the presence of an employee. And that's what has been done in other locations, and that's what I would recommend at this time. So, so basically, if the board can make a motion however they want to. A member of the board can make a motion to approve the facility request and waive all fees. They can make a move to approve the facility request and waive custodial fees on the condition a school employee is present, which is what's been done in the past, or they can deny the facility use request.
Okay.
I believe those are the three possibilities.
But your recommendation will be to stay the way that we have and charge the facility use fee, but waive the custodial fee.
With the presence of an
With the
employee.
presence of a employee. Okay? You've heard the director's recommendation.
I'll move
Action
to
item number
approve.
10,
I'll make a motion to approve.
to approve what he recommends.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
that-
second.
And I'm just confirming, Mr. Parsley, that is approval of the facility request, waiving the custodial
Custodial
fees
fees.
with the employee
Present.
present.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
And second, Mr. Gilliard. Now, there are questions on this. Mr. Parsley.
And I don't know if there's, let's see, if there's anybody here that might want to answer questions. Ms. Trail, is that? Okay, if you have any specific questions, Ms. Trail is here, so that may influence your decision if anybody wanted to address questions to her or have her speak as part of this discussion phase.
Would you tell the board what it's for? Because we're not seeing it up here.
Girls AAU, I'm with Top Gun, and I'm doing a 4th grade team, and it's just hard to get facility time anywhere. I know Westwood, and I can't get any other facility time anywhere else. So just having to reach out to the county schools now at this point is all I've been able to do.
Is there someone there? Will there be an employee of the school system? Okay. Okay.
As long as I keep the practices until 7. Right. And that's completely the plan.
Okay. Well, what about are there fees that they're going to be charged?
I believe, what is it, $45?
Yes. Well, no.
It's the standard.
$15 per hour or $250 per day is your setup for it.
Yep.
Is that what we're doing for all?
Yeah, it would be $45, if there were 2 practices, it would be $45 for that week. Because the 2 practices total 3 hours at $15 per hour.
Is that what we're doing for all other Top Gun? I mean,
That's what we have done with other AAU entities.
okay, so right now, all others are paying this same fee.
The $15 per hour or $250 per day.
Okay. I'm voting to approve it as it was, as the motion was made, with the facility use fee, custodial fee waived with an employee has to be present. Mr. Gilly. Ms. Jennifer.
Aye.
Ms. Cordell.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Budget update, Ms. Melson, and we have 2 budget updates since we missed last month. We've got the January budget update.
Yes, sir. So, yes, we missed January meeting, so the first update will be through November. This would have been presented in the January meeting. Through November, we have received 33.61% of revenues compared to year-to-date of last year, 32.99%. And then we have used 34.17% of expenditures compared to last year of 31.09%. Budget is on track. I will take additional questions about this budget update if you have them.
Okay. This update comes with your recommendation or approval, Dr. Lawson?
It does.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the January budget update.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we've had a motion by Mr. Crabtree and a second by Ms. Rose. questions for Ms. Melson or Dr. Lawson? Hearing none. Ms. Jennifer, we're voting on item number 11, the budget update.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye, that budget update passes 9-0. The February budget update, Ms. Melson, same.
Okay, so this budget updates through December. We've received 48.87% of revenues compared to last year, 48.73%, and then used 41.69% of expenditures compared to last year to date of 39.57. Still, budget's on track, no issues. I'll take questions if you have them.
Okay. This budget update comes with your recommendation, Dr. Lawson.
It does.
You've heard the director's recommendation. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the February budget update.
So moved.
Mr. Crabtree
Second.
and Mr. Ballard, I believe. Any additional questions?
Am I remembering wrong, but was our amended budget somewhere in the $47 to $48 million range in December?
You mean, are you talking about the amended budget?
Yeah, under the amended budget?
Yeah, so the amended budget in December was the amendments that were passed by the county. So what happens is I can't amend the budget until the county commission passes all of the budget amendments that you guys approve. So the budget amendments that have done up to this point, so like the fire alarm and the window project, not the windows, but the security for the windows and the doors, all of that can't be entered until the commission approves it. So all of those amendments, like for the extra pay, were entered in November or December, depending on when the commission approved those.
Okay, so that basically reflects the $3 million increase.
Yeah,
then.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question on maintenance of plant. Why is there a minus 10.13% of expenditures?
So last year we paid for ESSER. We had some ESSER expenditures that we had to pay for because the state was late on approving our ESSER 3 budget. So we paid those out of general purpose funds until ESSER budget was approved. And then the reimbursement for those funds were done in December. So that's why you see the negative. That's us regaining the funds that ESSER 3 should have paid for.
Okay, thank you.
No questions or concerns? We're voting to accept the February budget update. Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
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 Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes 9-0. Action item number 13, 2.804, facility, no, I'm sorry.
This is,
Expenses
and reimbursements. And Mr. Ballard had requested that we move that down to an action item. Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Ballard, or?
yes, Mr. Chairman, since there was some questions on that by Ms. Jones, I would like to make a motion to refer that back to the policy committee for further discussion and possible revisions.
So we've had a motion to send 2.804 back to policy. Mr. Ballard made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Ms. Jones is a second. Is there any discussion about it? Questions? Hearing none, we're voting on number 13 to send 2.804 back to policy. Mr. Ballard?
Aye.
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 Ms. Jennifer?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell? And and the chair votes no. That's 8-1. Passes. All right. Items for, that completes our action items. Items for discussion. We have no principals and left at this point. So, is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, on our last meeting, we had agenda item 9, which was the resolution opposing Governor Lee's Educational Act. And after kind of reviewing the tape, as it were, we did not follow policy 1.403 and 1.404 to put that on the agenda, nor did we actually make a formal vote to suspend policy to do that. So it looks to me like our vote on that was invalid. Now, I'd like to say I still oppose the resolution. There was probably some things in there I'd like to see stricken, but my concern is that we ask the public to follow those particular policies in order to speak, so we should probably, as the board, do that for ourselves. So that's kind of just like to throw that out there for discussion, as it were.
Okay.
If you would write up your concerns, I can forward them to Ben Torres for his interpretation.
Yeah, I can do that, sure.
Okay, send that to me and I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Any other concerns? Committee reports?
Yes, we have had two meetings. We had policy committee meeting on January 31st. The results of that, you can see the first reading in the consent items number 3. Compensation committee meeting was held on February 7th. We discussed a variety of calendar adjustments as we try to eliminate some of our way too many work calendars, and we also looked at some pay calculation adjustments. Those will be covered with the board at large at the work session on February 27th.
Okay. We have the student ambassadors had to leave. Director's report.
Yes, basically, you will continue to hear about ESSER expenditures as we bring that up. ESSER our goal is to allocate things by June 30th because all work has to be finished by September 30th. I should say all bills paid and that kind of thing. And so you're going to continue to see purchases. You're going to continue to see actions taken on that to make sure that we utilize all those funds. The next thing I'm going to mention is the board-sponsored scholarship. The guidance office has contacted us once again. That is something that the board has done each year. It's a $500 scholarship, so that means the 9 board members plus the director, if willing. Everybody usually, what we did last year was everybody contributed $50 to make a $500 scholarship, and see Miss Westmoreland if you're willing to contribute. And that's it on that.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to end the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Over, say aye. All right. Thank y'all.